And let's start with Steven Gerrard's sacking. It was announced late last night, a little bit too late for all the early editions of the papers who'd already gone, with plenty of stories about him being very much on the brink. So, David, let's come to you first on this. Can you just give us some details, because I know you're fully across this, as to the events of last night following Villa's defeat to Fulham, because it all happened very late.
It did, and morning, guys. Yeah, I think this was a bit of an inevitability because Steven Gerrard was in a precarious position. His job was hanging by a thread, and Aston Villa's results were far below the expectations of their owners, their hierarchy, and so it proved. That match was the final straw, a chastening defeat. They were well beaten by Fulham. It could have been worse. The red card for Douglas Luiz as well. There are suggestions that some of the executives left the director's box at Craven Cottage before full time, and within a short period of time, Gerrard had done his press conference and been informed of his fate. It's my understanding that he travelled back with the Aston Villa players and staff on the team bus to their Bodymore Heath training ground, where he wanted to speak to them before everybody went their separate ways, by which point everybody knew that his fate was sealed and it had been confirmed. They didn't want to wait. They wanted to get on with it, clearly. They need to start winning matches, and that's something they've only done twice all season, and once since, I think, August. So it's a sad end for Steven Gerrard, and Aston Villa will try and get on with the process of appointing a new manager and getting themselves back on track.
No word as yet as to who's in interim charge, but David, that's got to have been an awkward bus journey, surely. You would
Sorry, I didn't know if you came to me or Nubaid.
I was coming to you, David, just to follow up and saying that must have been an awkward bus journey, and no word, as we understand it, as to who's in interim charge, but bearing in mind they play on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. They play Brentford on Sunday, and we suspect that as things stand, it will be some internal coaching staff, maybe even Steven Gerrard's backroom team, because we've had no news on their fates as things stand. Now, maybe a statement will come this morning or during the course of today or tomorrow, but Gerrard had moulded that backroom team around himself. I think even the under-23s coach had changed, and therefore it's going to be a big decision for Aston Villa as to what they do. Those are loyal lieutenants to Steven Gerrard. They actually play against Brentford at Villa Park, and Thomas Frank has been heavily linked with the position. As I understand it, Thomas Frank is very happy at Brentford, and we've seen reports that he's in talks over a new contract. I think there's some optimism around the club that he will be staying. And so we'll have to see how that develops, because there'll be a number of candidates linked with this. I'm sure we'll come on to talk about it now. We've seen names such as Mauricio Pochettino, Thomas Tuchel, Unai Emery, and plenty more besides. So, a huge call for Christian Purslow, the Villa chief executive, the owners, Wes Edens and Nassif Sawiris at the club, and they'll hope to get it right.
Well, Nubaid, I want to ask you about this, actually. Like David mentioned there's already some names floating around. Mauricio Pochettino is currently the favourite. Thomas Tuchel's also a short price as well, if you look at the bookies this morning. How big of a coup would it be for Villa to land either of those guys?
Well, I mean, when I saw that come through in my head, I was like, Pochettino or Tuchel, that's a stretch for me anyway. I just think with Villa being where they are in the table, 9 points so far this season, whoever comes in sort of needs to hit the ground running. They'll also have the January transfer window. Whether Villa can attract someone like Pochettino or Tuchel, who obviously just lost his job at Chelsea, he's been managing in the Champions League season after season. I mean, Villa fans will absolutely love to hear it. All I saw on my Twitter yesterday was get Poch in, get Poch in, get Poch in. So if it happens, it would be unbelievable. I just can't see it.
I mean, you've got to ask the question as well, where this leaves sort of Steven Gerrard's managerial career. David, I know there's, the sense that sort of maybe the prodigal son would at one point return to Liverpool. Do you think that this sort of ends his hopes of becoming Liverpool manager, at least for the foreseeable, because his first foray into English football management hasn't really gone well?
Yeah, I think that his hopes would have been realistic and measured. I don't think he would have been expecting that job. It was more an external thing, even if he dreamed of being the Liverpool manager one day. So his trajectory from Liverpool Academy to Rangers, now Aston Villa, he'll have to take stock and decide where he would like to go next and pick up where the opportunities will arise. There will be opportunities because he's done well enough in his time in management so far to earn those. But it won't be at somewhere like Liverpool for the foreseeable future. Jurgen Klopp has signed a new contract there, and as and when he does decide to depart, we don't know what position Steven Gerrard, other candidates will be in. But as things stand, you would say that a lot of work needs to be done for him to be in the frame for that sort of job, and I think he will be the first person to admit that.